How's it going, everyone? It is Wednesday, October 30th, 2024. No pick from the prior video. We are still in Oracle long. So here's the chart for Oracle. Nice little pop up today. However, it is still kind of hitting that low minus trend line. And as you can see, we get these pop up, test the trend line, come back down, come back down. So here's kind of an interesting situation where it's a pretty good time to take the loss on Oracle, and that's probably going to do so. Um, and I'm kind of weighing out the options. So this option expires this week on the 1st, and we have lots of mega cap tech earnings coming out tomorrow. So I'm kind of weighing out these outcome over here to say, look, I can either take this loss now, which will be about a 40% loss, or I can wait. So if I wait, there's a couple options. The first option is that the stock tanks down and I take a bigger loss kind of at the low over here, kind of at the low at 172 or something like that. So that's the first option. The second option is that the stock moves up, but I end up taking a smaller loss. So maybe something like if I get up to 178, I still do well, but I lose some of that, lose some value because of the time premium decay. So I might take like a 20% loss instead of a 40% loss. The other option is that the stock does actually have a nice breakout and I do manage to break even. That's going to be contingent on the mega cap tech earnings today and tomorrow. And then the final option is that the stock actually goes up far enough in the next couple of days where I actually am able to take a profit. Now the ATR of the stock is about $3. So it would have to move up literally, I don't know, $5 to back up to 180 for me to take a small profit or even maybe break even. So I don't think the profit potential is super high. So I'm kind of weighing that out here. And how I kind of mathed it out is that it is really dependent on my bias on mega cap tech earnings. So if I think that earnings are going to be good, then it makes more sense to me to hold on to the stock because I'm going to get a bullish tailwind and I'm going to get a boost actually in terms of just tech buying on this stock. If we look at how Oracle reacted in the last round of mega cap tech earnings, somewhere over here. So not a ton of reaction on that front. If we look at maybe end of April, some reaction, maybe some pops over here. But may not be as reactive. So that's the best case scenario is that I take the small loss over here. So kind of how I did it out is like, all right, I think there's probably a 90% chance I take a loss on the stock and maybe a 10% chance that I am able to break even or even take a winner. So I'm looking to take the loss, but I'm trying to decide, okay, well, what's the best chance of me taking that loss? How can I take the smallest loss possible in this scenario? So if I wait, there's some chance I take a smaller loss. There's some chance I take a bigger loss. And right now, I think the chance that we move up past here, to me, I'm feeling something like 30%. 30% chance I take a 20% loss, and maybe something like a 60% chance I take a 60% loss. So if I were to, make a little spreadsheet here, right? So let's see, what's the chance that I take a bigger loss, right? So if I say there's a 60% chance, I take a 60 or even 65% loss. There is a 30% chance that I might take a 20% loss. And let's say 10% chance that I'm able to break even on the trade. So EV ends up kind of tying out over here. They're both 45-ish. And if I hold now, I'm somewhere between 40% to 45%. So I think it makes the most sense for me to take the loss right now. So I got it at $10. I have my order out at $6. So we are going to see if that order is going to get filled. I gotta check if I may have to modify this order. But I have an order out. This is actually not updated, but I have an order out for $6. And if we look at the M5 over here, for finding some support at VWAP, we have the exit signal. So on a little bounce, I may take some profits here. The only exception, I mean, like, look, if we get some strong movement to the close, then that is what it is. So that's kind of what I'm watching. So that's in an Oracle. If I look back on the trade and I just look at my thesis, I think that I entered pretty much at a really good time. I entered right here on October 9th. Stock had some relative strength. It was looking pretty good on this breakout. So I thought I had a good chance continuing. Now, I could have entered on the pullback, and I could have entered maybe somewhere on the next day. If I go back to the H1 chart, right, as it tests this support level, this breakout, find some support, test. So I could enter in somewhere close to here at October 10th, maybe, and then see if I can ride that up on the next couple of days. And then when we get this gap up on the 17th, right, I actually could have ended up taking a small profit. So that might have been the play. But I thought, given the strong momentum, that we could have some chance of some good continuation, and just didn't end up happening. So, but I timed it well with the market. I had a good pick. My entry was okay, but my entry probably could have been better on the pullback. That's probably the improvement here. Really get those ideal entries, and you can weather this out, but you can take the gains on a pop up over here, and would have been a small win, considering that the stock did not not end up producing. And then you would have set an alert and then waited for this trend out to see if you can get back in that position. So some picks for today. One couple picks I've been going through. One stock that I like. If I go to some potential swings here. So first one I like is COM. This is a pretty nice grinder. We got earnings on the 7th. Now, what I like about the stock is that, it was in this bullish channel and it broke through. So grinding up higher. Now we got this long sort of weak pullback over here. Triggered a sell signal and then back into a buy signal. We're breaking out above this level through some high plus trend lines. There's some good volume. And I really like this bearish divergence on the stock that's inching up higher. So COM is a very, very nice pick. Another one that I like is AFRM. So you can see how this stock cycles, and I've been really kind of paying attention to these stock cycles. So let's just sync this up with the market here, right? So we pull back over here, first cycle on the 11th. So this is where we find some support, start to inch up higher. Here's the market on the 11th. So if we look at AFRM, it had some decent relative strength. It held up pretty well post earnings. And you ride that up until the 19th, which is over here. Then stock cycles back down, so loses some relative strength, finds some support, and then we get the breakout over here. Next move on SPY. So here's the move down. Here's the move down on the stock. So it's okay. It cycles down, so it's not super strong, but it then ends up pushing back up higher because we get that market tailwind right, and it gains some relative strength in the meat of the move. Then cycles back down again. We see some selling pressure. Find some support, and then we can get the next leg higher. So that's kind of what I'm looking at on AFRM. It's kind of going through these cycles. If I'm zooming out over here, there looks like to be some little bit of resistance around 49-ish. But I like how the stock has started to make the move before the market has made the move today. So it's cycling up. We also have, this 1OP, I've been trying to time it out for stock D1. So we have I don't want to say this is a divergence, but it's looking decent. It's looking okay. So this stock over here, we have some room to this support level, which is this low minus trend line coming into play, as well as a 50 SMA. So we have some support around 42 bucks. Right now, the stock is pulling back. We don't quite have an H1 signal, but we do have an M30 signal. And where is our M30 signal? Looks like it's right over here. So getting it on a little pullback. But I like it, right? We have this kind of these shorter term reversals. This stock, oops, if I did this right. Right, so here is our downtrend. Broke through the downtrend, formed a base, and then we get bottom. We get the low, higher low. We break above this level, so 44 bucks would be a pretty nice entry point. 45 is also still pretty good, so I'm liking $45 here. So I think AFRM, I'm going to put that as a bullish swing. This is going to be a small size on the stock. And I am leaning on this level at 42 bucks, $41, and this is going to rise up higher. So probably around 42 bucks. AVWAP E, low minus trend line, 50 SMA. We have earnings on the 8th, so we have some time before earnings. This is a short-term swing. High IV, so I'd recommend either taking shares or a call debit spread that expires next week, but I'm going to take shares on the stock. So AFRM is going to be the swing pick of the day. And we're going to continue to look at some other positions here. All right, so let's talk about SPY and where we think it may be going in this future. So stock, or not the stock, sorry, the market rather, has been compressing for the past 2 weeks or so as we await lots of news. So first earnings reaction that we had was Google. So big gap up, and this stock is starting to sell off. That is weighing down a little bit on the market. So this is not, I'd say, a typical setup here, but if you look at this from a day trading perspective, here's a 1-piece cycle on the move up. Then we get this bearish cycle that sort of produces. Bullish cycle is benign, right? It doesn't really move. And then this bearish cycle produces. Bullish cycle, again, benign, doesn't really produce. This bearish cycle could produce going into the end of the day. So this is what I call a gap fill bearish, gap fill reversal, where we get this huge move and then we start to move back down, and there's just steady selling pressure the entire day. This is a more advanced move in terms of a day trading setup, but it is tradable if you are more experienced with this kind of setup. So, potentially some nice day trades there in Google. So we got those earnings, which were positive across the board and it's selling off. Now, as long as half of this gap is preserved, that is still pretty bullish, and the stock may continue to march higher. But looks like there's a lot of people who are locking in some gains on Google at this $180 level. Now, today, after the close, if I look at my pre-earn options, a lot of big stocks. Meta is coming up over here, as well as Microsoft. If I just look at for some earnings time spreads here, there's not a ton. I'm just looking through for some good candidates. Yeah, nothing super great for these earnings time spreads. Their times exceeded are a little bit too high, or the IV difference is a little bit too low, or just the stock price is just a little bit too high. So we have, again, Meta and Microsoft coming out after the close today. And then we have Apple and Amazon coming out on Thursday, unemployment report on Friday. So still a lot of news pending. My bias is slightly bullish, which is why I recommended Affirm over here. We're still going to see if this ends up holding up, because so far Affirm is not holding VWAP, and that's not quite what I want to see on the stock. It's getting a little bit of a chunk eaten out of it, which is not as bullish as I would have liked. So we're gonna keep an eye on that. May or may not stay as a pick. So on a D1 basis, again, longer term, fundamentally, technically, again, nothing has changed too much. We're gonna evaluate the price action after and all that news after the next week or so. So probably after next Wednesday, after that FOMC, we have a lot of new information. We can reevaluate our fundamental bias, see if anything has changed in terms of the economic stability, in terms of inflation, in terms of the rate cuts, in terms of the rate path. We can update our opinions on those based on some new information. Now, on the M30 chart for SPY, which is kind of what I look at just to see, what the heck's going on the last couple of days, right? I mean, this is just some low volume garbage. I thought Google might give us some movement today, but it looks like the market's still waiting on some more of the mega cap releases today and tomorrow before making a final opinion. Now, interestingly, I will note that looks like we do have well, that's sort of breached here. This downward sloping trend line kind of breached. We have that. That's somewhat valid. But yeah, a lot of pretty much staying in this range here from, I'll call it mostly 578 to about 584. 583. So most of the price action is within these two range, and then the market kind of breaks above the range, and then we get some breakouts, then with some pokes through, but most of the time it's staying kind of around this range. You can see it's chopping around this anchored VWAP from the all-time high. Hasn't quite really confirmed above or below it. Now, on an intraday basis, our short-term bias is short-term bias is pretty neutral on the just over the past couple days. Intraday here, we see that we have a small gap down. Test the bid, we rally up quite a bit on the open. Test the top, poke up here, marginal new high. This bullish cycle doesn't quite produce, and then we actually get some selling pressure over here, and then we get our 1OP crosser times up pretty well. This cycle doesn't really produce, and then you have this other cycle over here that also doesn't really produce. So a couple of benign cycles. Wouldn't really take too much, trading at the end of the day here. So kind of a choppy day all around, not really doing too much. There are some strong stocks that would have withstood this trend. So a lot of post-earning stocks, a stock like Reddit, for example, really ignoring the market, just has a ton of volume on its own. If I look at a couple of my tags, Reddit, TTD was okay, giving back some of the gains. I really do actually like IBM. IBM, a very nice pick on the bearish side. And again, this stock has ignored the market. So if you see that we're hitting some resistance over here, we start to leak lower on this bearish 1OP cycle at 1230. Let's see what the market, yep, the stock is doing at 1230. It is also starting to leak lower. You have your 1OP bearish cross coming in right around here. Right? So you can get in over there at 206 and oops, I would ride that down probably a little bit over here, 110. So we find some support at VWAP. So you could maybe take a small little win from 206 to 205 or even more. Actually ends up diverging over here. So if you were really sticky, you could have held on to the pick and then compressed again. This was a pretty key bar here. See the super high volume doji? That's a good sign to get out of the trade. Jumping up over there. Now compressing again, and might be done for the rest of the day. So yeah, I do like this. I like the stock. I mean, it's pretty nice day trading stuff over here. Lots of steady selling pressure, ton of volume, very consistent price action. This could actually set up for a longer term reversal, so I'm going to keep an eye on it. And now what I am going to do is I'm going to create an alert, and it's going to say when the stock has a. Actually, I'll just do it over here. Create alert when it's on a buy signal on the H1 basis. That might be the first signs we may get a longer term reversal on the stock. I want to see a deep reversal, then a double bottom, higher low. Problem is, that may not kind of happen. It may take some while for that stock to find its sea legs over here before that holiday rally. Another nice one, ABBV. Beautiful move post earnings this morning. So very steady grinder. And then one of the clues is when this market dips over here in the morning. I mean, you could even get it. First 15 minutes is not as telling, but it is this reversal grinder. So small gap up, test the open, find support, grinds up higher, and then you have this kind of this bull cycle that produced. Or sorry, the cycle that diverged. And then you can get in when it not produced. So there was a nice little chunk here. Another nice little chunk over here-ish. And then, yeah, kind of died around for the day. But ABBV had some nice moves in there. UAL, also another decent one, breaking out of this compression. Is a steady grinder. Or kind of had a big move here, compressed for a little while, making the gains higher. Today was a pretty steady mover. Now it's pulling back a little bit at the end of the day. But certainly a pretty decent pick, all things considered. And maybe you want to buy it on a pullback, like an M5 pullback or something. A couple of other ones here. Looking at RNG. Had a decent little pop hitting that level. But yeah, so there was a couple of nice day trades you could take on a day like this that, you could sync up some of the cycles with the market. I think the main one that I would have taken was we had this strong move down, and then we had this move up. So taking this bullish cross right over here on the high of the day is not a bad play. And then once it doesn't really end up producing, right, it starts to diverge over here. You might take your loss on your longs, and I would flip to the bearish side, and then take some gains on the bearish side. But pretty choppy day overall, and really wait for these pullbacks on the market. And you want to make sure that we clear this high of the day and we don't kind of retrace back into it. That's a warning sign that we're not really going to go very far. All right, so Affirm is still looking pretty good. So we're going to continue that as our pick of the day. And yeah, we're going to see what happens, for the rest of the week. So thank you for watching, everyone. And we're going to take a look at how Affirm is doing in tomorrow's video.